All right, Cop Talk Live, changing cop culture. Dominick, Izzo out here in the Chicago area. We have conversations about changing the culture of law enforcement, of which I think is abysmal at this day and age. We have a bunch of immature police out there who are more focused on being TikTok celebrities. If you watch my content, you're very familiar with that. But we also have to change this culture. And by doing that, we have to have some conversations that are needed that a lot of people are afraid to have. A lot of times I have on people that either have an opposing opinion to me or they have an opposing opinion other than mine, or they in agreement. I do not like to live in an echo chamber, and it's just how it is. Today, we're going to have a discussion about race relations in law enforcement and whatnot. And over the last couple of days, I've had a couple of people from the Shreveport area that I had on who were in response to a Shreveport police officer who was suspended in part for some of her social media content. You can all see it on the channel here as well. And it sparked up controversy within the black community. And today, Trey Mosley is joining. Trey, active police officer. Don't say where. We don't want to associate with your agency. But we're going to have a discussion because you and I have a disagreement about how race is portrayed in that. Let's start. Give the 30,000-foot view of who Trey Mosley is, and let's have a discussion.
Yeah, like you said, my name is Trey Mosley. I'm a cop in California. Won't say the agency, of course. I've been doing it for a couple years. Grew up in the LA area. Coming from a very diverse background, though, I think that plays a big role into my ability to be a police officer and understanding people from both sides of the street, as you would say. And spent most of my life playing football prior to doing the law enforcement thing. So that's pretty much who I am.
How long have you been a cop?
About 3 years.
3 years. So you're this new generation of police officer. What made you want to become a police
Yep,
officer?
yep. I was at first it was a what do you call it? Like an audible career for me. I was trying to be a doctor. That was my first goal. And then COVID hit, kind of derailed me from that, and I started doing this. I was still hesitant though. Like I said, I come from a different family than most officers. Very, very humble beginnings. And I think my experience with police was nothing but negativity. I thought all police were racist. I thought they can do whatever they want. And my goal when I first got into it was to change the narrative, like on what I perceive police to be. And then once I became an officer, started meeting other officers from my agency, different agencies, and just going through the academy, I realized that my perception was completely wrong, that all officers are not racist and they're not out to get me. And just a lot of officers are solid people. They just are fighting a narrative that's really hard to shake considering what's happened in the past. So then I became, my thing was just educating people like me who thought just like me that all police are racist and they can do whatever they want. My goal was to educate people that didn't understand. And that's kind of what I do now is I focus on the education side and teaching people from, well, my hope is that I'm teaching people from putting themselves in situations where they're going to get hurt. So, and that's why I focus heavy on like traffic stops. So that's when the average civilian is going to interact with police officers. It's probably going to be on a traffic stop. So I focus on stuff like that.
How do you educate the public? What's your main means?
Just teaching them what rights do you have and how police at times can go around those rights. Like you have the ability to refuse a search, for example. And there's times where you can refuse all you want, but there's times where police can't still search a vehicle regardless of you refusing, whether that's probable cause, reasonable suspicion. There's other avenues to get into a car, whether you refuse it or not. So that's like one of my main things, teaching people what they can and can't do, and kind of what police can and cannot do.
What is the platform that you do this? Do you do this through your department? Is this something that you
No, I do everything on Instagram through my own. My department doesn't sponsor me. I'm pretty sure that a lot of them are aware of what I do, and some people in my department follow me, but everything I do is independent, which is why I never mention my department. I don't believe in like taking videos in my uniform or anything like that. I've never done stuff like that.
I like. It doesn't bother me when somebody's like it was a fallback for a career, because I say all the time the first time I went into law enforcement I was a bartender and everybody said, man, you need to be a cop, and I'm like, no, but then I'm like, man, government job, steady paycheck. I took it for the steady paycheck and the security, and it wasn't until later on many years later that I went, no, this is a job in order to be the best version of me, because being a police officer is the standard of all professions, in my opinion, to have the greatest version of yourself to bring it on the street. I want to talk about, well, this generation is different, right? I started in 2001. I was just talking to somebody who said, oh my God, you went to the same academy I did. And her academy number was like 3,200 and something. And mine was 1871. So it's a big difference in generation. Social media is a very big issue with how law enforcement is right now. And that is something that I want to change the cop culture. I think social media and police need to be eradicated. It needs to be a thing. But I take responsibility of it. It's Mike the cop, Officer Daniels. I was talking to Ashley Smith last night, and I said she was the first female who actually did this on social media. And I told her, I said, I blame you for what women think that social media should be right now, because she went on there with humor and parody. And, she just happens to be a fit female who's blonde and attractive. And then you open the door for women not to take this seriously. So we have a lot of work to undo. You and I got on this conversation because of Officer Breonna Harrison out of Shreveport, Indiana. And I didn't like the lyrics not that I didn't like the lyrics professionally, but the lyrics in the songs that she had up were, I think, completely ill representative of law enforcement. And that when I want to read the comment that sparked this off, because I need to get your insight on this as far as what you thought. Now, I don't know what the song was. I had it, but it's not important to me right now because I'm whatever. But there's a lot of language that would be like, holy shit, this is representing law enforcement. And for those who don't know, it's available on our page. You had a police officer who was getting ready for work. She was in full uniform, and I believe it was a Cardi B song that was playing in the background, one of them. And she had several videos on it. I'd featured it, and I said, in my opinion, this is not representative of law enforcement. That officer was suspended in part for her social media not representing the law enforcement agency, because she was in full uniform, didn't blur her badge, didn't blur her patches, which I still think is irrelevant. It's so easy to find all of you. And she was also allegedly in a fight, which they said. This was your comment to me. Yeah, this is a big reach. The word nigga is used the word nigga used in essence of a crime has absolutely no comparison to somebody using it in a song. By definition, that word is a racial insult expressing deep hate towards black people, thus making for it a racist word. When a black person uses it to another black person, the racist nexus is removed, which then is no longer makes it a racial slur. It has to be said by any other race to fulfill the definition of the word. Erase history, and then anyone can say nigga and it will be socially acceptable. I want you to explain that, because I vehemently disagree with you, and I want to give you the opportunity for this. I'll give you my full position, because I don't want this as a gotcha moment. I think for you to say that as an active police officer, this is my opinion, and I'm going to give you full floor to explain this. If legitimately your stance, and I want you to clarify this, is that the black community can use a word, but the white community, I wouldn't feel safe driving through your town, because I worry that you will not give me fair discretion because of the color of my skin. I worry that, God forbid, I go into a business, I get into a fight with somebody, I have full free speech, and I call him a nigga while I'm fighting him, and he calls me a cracker while he's fighting me. You'll arrest me and charge me with a hate crime, but not him, because it seems that you have black allegiance to your culture by giving one culture and community pass on using a word while another community does not. Clearly, those are your words. I also want to know what your viewpoint is with today's day and age with the certain community that is nonstop abhorrently pissed and leverages all the time. White people cannot say this word. Black people cannot be racist. There is a big social push for division. As a man, I don't have any problem with you having those views. As a police officer, I think it's dangerous, and I think it's irresponsible for you to be a 3-year cop to have those views, and I don't think you could be trusted. So I want your full explanation about why you have that view and why you give one party permission to use a word and another party it's a racist slur.
So just that word in general is a racial slur, correct?
It depends on which one it is, because I know that you have the N-I-G-G-E-R and N-I-G-G-A. So I'm asking you for the definition of it. I also know that it's intent on the word. You and I both know that if we go to a call and we have somebody says something verbatim, we have to put that in quotes in our report. So
Yeah,
if I write the word nigger in a report, it's based on the intent of the subject. I wasn't being racist while writing it, so I want to hear all your views of it.
Okay, so if using the word nigga or nigger coming from a black to a black, the whole thing is the race barrier. It only becomes racist when you're saying it to another, when another race is saying it to a black person. When a black person says it to another black person, it's not racial. The racial nexus is removed because we are the same race. Now, to address what you said, though, you said that you had an issue that if a white cop can't use the same language as a black cop, it shouldn't be used. Now, to me that you're saying that if a white person can't say nigga, then nigga shouldn't be used. I don't agree with that. Now, if you take a stance and say nobody should be using the word period, including black people, I can get behind that and say, okay, I'm in agreement with that. But for you to say, oh, a white person can't use it, then a black person can't, that means that you don't understand the history. To me, I don't think you're not putting the value on the history behind the word on where it stemmed from. So but to me, I was interpreting it as if you were really saying nobody should be using it at all. That's how I was. As I'm looking deeper into it, I'm like, okay, this guy isn't racist. I think he's trying to really say that nobody should be using the word, rather than saying that, oh, if white people can't use it, then black people can't use it. Because that's what you were saying, but I don't think that was your true intent.
As a police officer, no one should. As a white person, I don't care if they say it 24/7. I don't care.
Okay.
I have a question too.
So I agree. I'll agree with that. As a police officer, I don't think no police officer, especially in work capacity, should be using that word. I agree.
Do you disagree? Do you disagree with how she used it in the video?
If she's in uniform, I do disagree. Her doing that in her own time, recording a song, like I don't have a problem with that at all. Especially, I think that when people put these words into songs, they make it socially acceptable to use those words in a song. I do agree with that.
White people too?
Yeah, I do. I do think so. If it's being said in a song, I think that we open the door to allow it to be said. A lot of black people would disagree with me on that. But I do think that because it's in a song, these rappers open up the door to allow other people to mouth the words of their song and stuff like that. So if it's used in a song capacity, but that word it has so many different interpretations. So
context matters.
Context absolutely matters when it comes to that word specifically. Like in that video, you actually said the word nigga. You phrased it as a quote.
Mm-hmm.
And people gave you shit about that. And I'm like, I don't give a fuck that he said that, me personally, because the context behind it was not no ill will. It was not to devalue the black community. It wasn't perceived as an insult to me, because context matters in a sense.
If that's the case, then I want to hold your feet to the coals on this one. If we back up 5 minutes ago, you said anytime a white person uses that word, it's racist. So we have to say context matters, correct?
Context does matter, but I never said that every time a white person uses it, it's racist. I never once said that. I said it means something if a white person is saying like, what's up, my nigga? Like verse where a black person is saying, what's up, my, they have two different meanings.
How does it, so if you and I aren't friends, but if we were and I said, what's up, my nigga, I'm not allowed to say that?
It would be perceived as me as, for one, either you grew up around a bunch of black people or you're racist. One of the two. That's how I would perceive that.
So you would have to know exactly what I'm thinking and how I'm using it, right?
No, I wouldn't say that.
So just because of your culture and your skin color, you automatically, this is the danger. And this is not coming from a black man. This is a police officer's point of view, because you have discretion. You have discretion over people who break the laws whether or not to use it. So how do you know what intent somebody has when they're using that words? That's the danger.
So you're talking about in a crime? So if you're using the word in essence of a crime?
Any circumstance.
Well, it would only affect me as a police officer if it's being used in essence of a crime. If someone just walking down the street, I get called nigga all the time by people on the street trying to irritate me. I can't act on that. Nor if I seen someone else say a racial slur to somebody, you have freedom of speech, bro. You can say whatever you want. But using it in essence of a crime, like if someone's walking down the street and they're singing a song and they're saying the word nigga and they're a white person and the song said nigga, then I cannot act on that as a police officer.
And if I walked in your town and I said, hey, what's up, nigga? And I'm from the suburbs of Chicago, I'm a white guy, and a black guy punches me in the face for saying it.
Then that sounds like a battery on the black guy's part to me.
Okay. That's correct. Because there's still free speech. But if he goes, there was a racist word that was used that attacked me, and I felt provoked on it.
That has no relevance to the situation. That's no relevance to the situation at all. You should have controlled your actions, bro. That's a battery. I don't care how you put it, whatever. It's a battery. Now, if you would have said, now let's say as a white person would have said, "Oh, I'm gonna slap the shit out of you, nigga," and then in response to that, the white person is giving some sort of cues that they're ready to fight, and the black person punched them on that reaction, that changes everything. So that's what I'm saying. It depends if the word is used in essence of a crime rather than as an essence of free speech. They're two completely different things.
That's what I want to go back to. I want to go back to your words on that again as well too, just to sit there and have clarification, because I want to be dead on this because I don't agree with it. Again, by definition, that word is a racial expression, expressing deep hate towards black people. So in this, and that's why comments are dangerous. You have no context to this. So thus making it a racist word. When a black person uses it to another black person, the racist nexus is removed, which then makes it no longer a racial slur. It has to be said by another race to fulfill the definition of the word. So by that being said, here's the deal, and this is the danger of social media. If I'm a lawyer and I'm a damn good one, I'm gonna screenshot that, and I'm gonna pursue anytime you ever arrest a white person, and I'm gonna say, you put, as an active police officer, you represent yourself online, you put that anytime a white person, you didn't say ... ellipsis matters the context. You put anytime a non-person of color or white person uses that word, it's a racial slur. Therefore, we can say, can Officer
by definition? Go ahead. My bad. Go ahead.
But remember, again, I want to get this 100% correct because I do not want to disrespect your words or misquote you.
I'll explain.
This is it. It says it has to be said by another race to fulfill the definition of that word as a racial slur. So that being said, right now, that means anytime somebody says it that's not black, that Officer Trey Mosley gives preferential treatment to blacks if a white says that word, and can we trust him to remove emotion and apply discretion properly to a white person? Or does defense start after looking into all your arrests on anybody who's ever used that word, regardless of the context? Because you didn't put context in that quote. Dude, this is how it is. You know, this is exactly how defense attorneys go in, and they'll get your loophole. You'll get yourself off. This is why you guys don't think when you post on social media.
No, I'm definitely thinking. I'm very aware of what I said. So by definition, there is no changing it. It is a racial slur.
According to who? According to, I don't know you. You have never, by definition. Do you know what the definition of racist used to mean 20 years ago? Because they changed it all the time. Word, I'm giving you an example. Do you know that because definitions change all the time? Can you define what racist means? Racist or racism? Yeah. Do me a favor. Yes, please. Because it's not what it was back in the 80s.
I'm pretty sure it means just showing some sort of favoritism or hate towards a particular race. But that's
bigotry. That is bigotry.
Oh, I say that's what it made me now.
But that's what it is. That's what it's defined as. Years ago, it's racist, nationalist, sexist. It was never preferential treatment or hatred. It was literally believing your race was superior to another race, any other race, and that any other race was inferior to you. So an active racist had to be somebody who said or thought or acted on blacks are lesser human beings than I am. We have watered it down to saying that if somebody goes on a podcast and says nigger or nigga, they're automatically racist because they're using a word that's not allowed to them.
Not true.
But that's what the definition is.
Okay. So, by definition, like I said in the quote, it's a racial slur by definition. But context plays a role into that. I just said that's why I said by definition it's a racial slur.
It depending upon who uses it, correct? So if it's a racial slur if a non-black uses it, but if it's a black who uses it, it's not. I want to establish that boundary first. So because this is a glaring issue that we have in the society. If you use it, it's not a racial slur. If I do, by definition, because I'm not black, it's a racial slur. Correct?
That's exactly how it is.
Okay, so that means it's segregation. We have successfully segregated non-blacks and blacks from society on a foundational level because free speech now has limits. And because of that, the view of the black community who say that anybody non-black cannot use this word in the context we can, you have done what your culture has tried to sit there and destroy for the last 50, 60, 70 years, which is segregate a people. That is complete segregation. What point do we get to? Well, you know what? We need to have black
segregation.
100% it is. If you are saying, do I run a risk of getting punched in the face for using the word nigga in any context that I want to if I say it out loud?
You do.
Yeah. Should I?
In a way, it depends. If this is from I'm speaking from a position of the black community. If you're running around saying that, then yes, bro, like you're gonna get a reaction from that.
Do I deserve to be punched in the face for saying it?
I believe so. I believe so, depending on, again, context. Like if you're saying even then, like you still may risk that, like regardless.
So you believe that? You believe that I would deserve that?
If I'm speaking for the black community, yes. If I'm speaking for myself, like I said,
you're an active police officer who swore an oath to the Constitution, and you are trampling on someone's free speech based on your needs. You just did.
You're not understand what I'm saying. So I'll reword it. If I'm speaking as an advocate for the black community, meaning if I'm representing hundreds and thousands of black people, then I would say yes. If it's just me alone, just Trey Mosley, to me, without context, I don't necessarily care too much.
Who are you representing when you swore that oath?
What do you mean?
Who you swore an oath to the Constitution, right? Uphold the Constitution.
And I did. Yes.
Who do you represent?
I represent the people.
Right? Is it the people or is it the black people?
No, you're not understanding what I'm saying.
No, we're trying to get clarification because right now you're openly admitting that a white man would deserve, in the context of using the word nigga. You did. You literally did. I asked you, would I deserve it?
Okay, so I'll say it again. If I am speaking for myself, Trey Mosley, I do not necessarily care too much about the word being used unless I know the context. That's what I'm saying.
But if a group of blacks hears me walking down the street and I'm saying nigga, 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 free speech, which I have the right to, and I get jumped, you can understand that's acceptable, correct?
I would understand why that happened. I would absolutely understand why.
And I would deserve it, correct?
I didn't say you deserve it, but I would definitely understand why it happened.
You did before.
I would understand why it happened.
Why did it happen?
Because it would be perceived as a racial slur.
Because people of the black community have no impulse control over their issues over a word.
That's not true.
It's 100% true. You're a cop. You've seen it. You see that the low IQ, fatherless, criminal element black community, which is being leveraged every single day in America, does not have any control over their emotions. As a police officer, as a servant of the people, as somebody who gets a paycheck by the people, you should be condemning with complete conviction and affinity that not a single person can touch somebody else for a fucking word, no matter what. That's what you should be doing. You cannot be trusted as a cop.
I mean, you can believe that, but
I do believe
that. Okay. So, like I said, if someone's using that word, then I believe that depending on context, you don't necessarily understand where it stems from. Because regardless of how you put it, by definition, it's a racial slur, bro.
Do I have that same right if you call me WAP, Guinea, Dago?
I don't know what none of those words mean.
Well, okay. So you don't know the nexus of it. You don't know the history of it, right?
I've never even heard any of those words being said before.
Sure. WAP, without papers, Dago, day comes, they go, Paisan, Goomba. No Italian slurs? Guinea?
No, I don't. I would never use those words, but
if you did,
if I did it, I got punched in the face, and I would understand why.
I wouldn't, because I would say for the Italian people to control themselves. It's a fucking word.
Okay.
And I would condemn it with conviction. I want to give you another opportunity again, because again, this is the state of America and how police are. Can you be trusted to put the best interest, not your personal interests, ahead of you? Can you be trusted to uphold the law and the Constitution regardless of somebody says a word?
I absolutely could.
Do you condemn violence against anybody who uses that word, regardless of their intent? If somebody comes up, drops a hard R, and they hate someone, and they stand there, hands in their pockets, and they scream it in somebody's face, do you condemn violence against them?
Okay. So if it was me,
you're the only one speaking for it, but go ahead.
No, because I don't speak for just me, bro. I speak for the black community too.
Trey, that's my problem. No, you don't. No, you don't. Trey, your allegiance and your alignment is off.
Go ahead.
Your allegiance is off. You are. This is the problem. It is, because once you wind up putting on that badge and that uniform and swore that oath, you're 24/7 responsible for upholding the Constitution, even off duty when you have no seizure powers. And the problem is if there's an if in anything, that you are willing to accept a constitutional violation or a crime happening because it's not just me, it's the black community, then you're okay with segregation. And what needs to happen what needs to happen is blacks police blacks, Hispanics police Hispanics, Chinese police Chinese, and we need to segregate cops, police people. You're walking proof of that.
No. So again, if there was a black person that slapped the shit out of somebody because they said the word nigga, they would get arrested. Even though I may not agree with it, again, I understand why it happened. But it wouldn't mean I necessarily agree. I wouldn't say like, yeah, he deserved it, blah, blah, blah. Like, yo, bro, I understand why you did it, but no, that wasn't like you didn't have to do that. And that's what I was trying to tell you.
In my view, the danger about your mindset right now is you're the kind of cop that would sit there and if you're watching a group of people and some white guy does do something stupid, goes up and starts mouthing off and dropping M-bombs left and right, you'd sit back and you'd watch the guy get the piss slapped out of his mouth, and then you'd make an arrest.
Absolutely not. Never. I would never do nothing like that. Like I said, I'm still an objective thinker.
So again, as a police officer, not as Trey Mosley, but as a police officer, do you condemn violence against anybody who uses free speech to express any word they want?
I don't agree with it, but I would understand. Again, and that's where I'm at.
Let me try that again. Do you, Officer Trey Mosley, condemn violence towards anybody who is using free speech?
I can't change my answer. I said I don't agree, but I could understand.
You are unfit to be a police officer.
That's not true. I think a lot of people understand exactly what I'm saying.
Yeah, you know what?
I don't agree. There's a lot of stuff.
People pay your taxes for your salary. It's upholding the Constitution.
And I said I don't agree.
I said, do you condemn?
I don't agree.
Do you condemn?
I don't agree.
You condemn.
I don't agree.
Okay, if you don't agree, so that means you are acceptable. You are fine with violence against somebody using free speech.
And I said I don't agree with that.
It's okay. I know you're going to die on the hill. I get it. You're wrong. And what we need is, here's what we need. And this is why you're. This is exactly what it is. You word it by saying, yes, I condemn violence against anybody who's using free speech because it's a constitutionally protected right.
Okay. So again, you're wanting me to choose that word selection. I said I don't agree with it.
How would you feel if I sat there and said,
Izzo, if a black person came, if you said the word nigga and a black person slapped you, I would be like, yo, that wasn't cool. It wasn't needed. Would I understand why it happened? Absolutely. But
Are you fine?
It's okay? Absolutely not.
Okay. So if I was still an active cop and I said, I understand, I'm not going to condemn like black people voting. I'm going to say, well, I understand it, but I'm not going to fully support it. How would that make you feel? If I was still an active cop.
Let me hold on. I'm gonna look up this exact definition because maybe I'm perceiving the definition different.
This is a very serious issue. We have children.
Okay. So no. Based on the definition of condemn, I'm saying the same exact thing. Express complete disapproval.
Do you condemn?
I just said
violence against anyone who uses free speech.
I just said verbatim, I don't approve with it. I wouldn't agree with it, but I would understand.
Do you accept? I don't accept it. I do not accept violence towards anybody using any word whatsoever. I don't understand it. I don't agree with it whatsoever. As a representative, as a former representative of somebody who uphold an oath to the Constitution, I swore an oath to uphold the Constitution, and there was not one. I had to change my beliefs, change my understanding, and it doesn't matter what my views are. I do not understand, and I do not accept, and I fully condemn with everything I am any violation of anyone's free speech. That's an answer I would be looking for. Do you have the same opinion?
When it comes to not understanding, I will not have the same opinion. I never will, bro. Me and you will never stand on the same side of the fence when it comes to understanding or lack of understanding when it comes to this work.
That's why police officers culture needs to change.
No, hold on. If you put me and you in several scenarios back to as a police officer, me and you will be on the same side of the fence when it comes to making objective arrest or anything like that based on this word being used. We will be on the same side of the fence.
I don't know if we can. We objectively differently.
We absolutely will. We absolutely will be on the same side of the fence. You just gave an example where you said that if what I arrest or treat the white man any differently if they use that word and they got hit by a black man. I just said the black man will go to jail or be whatever type. He will be subject to a battery enforcement, whether that's a ticket or going to jail. We both agree with that. That is representation. I can make the right decision. It doesn't mean, like I said, I will understand why the dude did it, but I'll be like, yo, bro, like you fulfilled the element of this crime. You got to go. That's objectively thinking. So again, we will be on the same side of the fence with that.
I don't know. I think that you have an allegiance on an emotional level to
it's
a
not
culture.
True. That's not true. That's the reach, bro. Like I said, give another scenario. Me and you will end up on the same side of the fence.
Scenarios are what ifs. Scenarios are what ifs. That's why I asked you for a definitive, concrete. I don't think women, this is my opinion, I think that women are overly emotional. I think that women do not operate with logic and they do not operate with reasoning. And I think that the 19th Amendment is dangerous. But no, upholding an oath to the Constitution, if that's the case, I would never stop any woman from voting. And I would change my beliefs 100% and go, nope, sorry, they have all the right in the world. I am a pawn in this game of upholding the law that will follow the Constitution as the base for everything, and I will void my own understanding and replace it with what the law is. I want cops who are that fucking convicted in what the Constitution is, not ambiguity of, I understand it, because the next thing is, well, yeah, she was raped. She was kind of asking for it. I understand why you did it. Did you see what she was wearing? That's the line you're towing.
Nah. So again, in that situation, if it's a rape, it's a rape, bro. Objectively thinking. I think you want the definition to be something else from what I'm saying.
It's not the definition. It's your understanding.
I think so.
Okay. Would you understand?
Even then, I think you are trying to make it be different from what it is, like based on whatever preconceived notion you have about me, bro. Again, if that happened, if that word was used in essence of a crime, then it is what it is, bro. Like that person or whoever committed the crime has to go, period. That's the end of discussion. Would I understand why it happened? So I'll use a different word. Would I empathize with the person and be like, look, dude, I get why you did it, but it still wasn't cool. Like, I don't know, maybe the understanding part is maybe I'm choosing the wrong word, but I will still be able to empathize with somebody.
That's a problem. That's a problem with our law enforcement.
I don't think that's a problem at all. It's just, it's no different for all types of crimes. Like if, let's see, what's another one? Let's say like a DV, right? If somebody, well, every state has different laws for DV, so I won't even use that. But there is multiple situations where someone can understand why somebody did something, can empathize with them, but still say that they're wrong. That happens all the time, and that's what I'm saying about that word being used by different races. I can understand why somebody would get mad, but if you react on it, it is what it is. You're in the wrong for that. What would be
the defining or the foundational aspects for that?
What do you mean by
domestic violence? What would be something that you understand somebody? A woman's mouthing off and she wasn't stop nagging and fucking bitches to 24/7. The guy comes up and just cracks her. Man, I understand. She's a fucking mouthy bitch. You can't do it, but I understand it because my wife is just as much of a nag.
No. So it would be more like if let's say like a female hits the male and the male in reaction hits the female back. Would I understand why you did it? I'd be like, look, dude, she hit you. I understand, but you were wrong for doing that. You shouldn't have hit her back. You should have walked away. You should have did X, Y, Z. You should have did something else.
Was there anything that protects him in the Constitution for that?
For protecting himself?
As far as, is there anything that, because I don't know, the life, liberty, pursuit of happiness would fall underneath that, but you're having an impulse reaction to something, right? An impulse reaction, and you would expect physical contact to be returned to physical contact, any contact of an insulting or provoking nature being a battery or assault, depending upon the state, but it's not a word. It's a physical reaction.
Is an impulse decision a protected right? No, I don't believe it is.
Okay. So that means that if I walk down the street and I call someone a nigger, you understand, oh yeah, no control of your impulses. But that's not a protected right, but free speech is. All I'm looking for,
free speech is a protected.
All I'm looking for, is free speech an absolute protected right to you?
Yeah, it is.
Good. I know we're going to disagree on this one. I think that you're just from a younger generation of cop. I think that your generation was brought in for a diversity issue that is far more based on the agenda of themselves versus the totality of the profession. I'm telling you, I have far more experience in this profession than you do. And what has happened right now, what has happened is that we have all these officers who come in and they're not a part of the system. They're making the system fit their agenda. Get the badge, get the uniform, get the title, go online, and then listen to me. This is why I'm important. I'm guilty of it as well, too. I don't hide that. But the problem is, the second we let anything be divisible into cultures within the police department, which is what they've done, the Constitution begins to erode. Whether or not you agree with it, you have a crack in the foundation of your integrity that could be compromised. And that's something that you really need to look at. That's just my final opinion. I'll let you have the last word.
Yeah, no, I think that anybody that could think objectively and put aside my personal views, I could do the job just like you or anybody else. That's what the job calls you to do. It doesn't tell you to erase your personal views. That has never been a thing. Just like you said about women not being police officers, your personal views that they shouldn't. You set that mold, you've made that very clear. But from an objective lens and understanding the Constitution, you're like, yeah, fuck it. It can be what it is. I don't agree, but it can be that. Is that what you're saying, essentially? Yes?
Is that what I'm saying?
I'm not tripping.
No, I'm not an active police officer. When I was an active police officer, I suspended all my personal beliefs and I replaced them with the oath that I swore to the Constitution.
Okay. Well, you can say that all you want, but your personal beliefs were there.
I can now.
Okay. But whatever you feel now was how you felt those at.
Here's the deal. Ago. I was never stupid enough to admit it publicly.
Okay. It does, but nothing has ever said, there is no policy, none of that tells you to put your personal beliefs aside. It never says that. I think personal beliefs allow you to use discretion when needed. But if you're able to think objectively and put aside those personal things, there's times when you do that as well. That makes a good police officer.
I think social media is a danger to all you guys, and it makes you very vulnerable to legal repercussions, and we have a lot to change. Trey Mosley, I thank you. Be safe out there, and I appreciate that. Guys, we'll see you on the next episode of Cop Talk Live, Changing Cop Culture.